The story starts with Prince Pigeon when he brings a healthy but dangerous soup for Lady Arlin and asks her to drink it. Looking at the soup, Lady Arlin thinks, "What on earth is this?" Prince Pigeon tries to forcefully feed her, but she keeps trying to avoid it. With no other option left, Prince Pigeon makes a pitiful face and talks about how many hardships he went through to get this soup for her. In a low voice, Arlin tells him that it's not that she doesn't want to drink it, making a cute puppy face. The prince explains how helpful the soup is and how he personally went all the way to the top of Crowan Mountain in Sahalan, hunted a monster, and brought back its heart to make the soup. After hearing all the commotion, Arlin finally agrees to drink it. As she drinks the soup, the prince looks at her in an adorable way. After finishing the soup, Arlin bends down due to exhaustion, or maybe because of drinking that dangerous soup, but on the other hand, the prince is very happy that she drank it all. The prince comes forward and tells her not to collapse whenever she wants and that she must first take permission from him. With a snap of his fingers, the prince commands everyone to get ready. The real show now begins. The prince gathers Lady Arlen's health council, the imperial knights, 99 imperial physicians, and the attending doctors. They all gather together to wish Lady Arlin a healthy and long life. Arlin tells them to stop all this, but the prince has another plan. He grabs her and says, "Let's see how much healthier you've gotten." The imperial knights start cheering as Lady Arlin begins weightlifting. "Don't worry. It's not heavy, just a stuffed bunny." After weightlifting, she has to run 10 laps around the mansion. At this rate, before she gets healthy, she will die first. After completing all this, she becomes totally exhausted, coughing and struggling to catch her breath. The prince asks her, "See, you're already tired. You're too weak. You need to get healthy soon, so we can go hiking and hunt monsters together." With a cheerful smile, the prince says he will definitely make her healthy for sure. But Arlin wants someone to help her get away from the main lead. You must be wondering how it all started. This is the story of a 19-year-old genius violinist, once hailed as a prodigy blessed by the heavens and admired by the world. One day, while walking and reading a novel, she is hit, not by the infamous truck-kuan, but by a luxury sedan, losing her life on the spot. To her shock, she gets reincarnated as a character in a novel. Still frozen in shock and unable to move, she hears a maid continuously asking if she is all right, panicking over why Lady Arlin is not moving. As Arlin processes everything, it doesn't take her long to realize which novel she is reincarnated into, and whose body she now possesses. The body belongs to Arlin Sigria Halburn, the heiress of the Halburn ducal family, one of the 5 great dukedoms of the Albrecht Empire, and the sole successor of her ducal house. Yes, she is born into a wealthy family with a diamond spoon. She thinks she has gained a luxurious and happy life, but fate has a different plan for her. When she wakes up, she suddenly feels dizzy. Even when she tries to run a little, her body becomes out of breath and exhausted. She realizes that along with the diamond spoon, she has also inherited a body that is terminally ill. As the memories of her past life grow clearer with time, she gradually begins to hear things no child should know. Some people and maids whisper that the Duke of Halburn picked up a daughter from somewhere. No one knows who her mother is or how a bastard child became the master of Halburn. A mysterious daughter the Duke suddenly brought home one day, leaving Arlin in the care of the mansion's steward before departing alone for the northern front lines. In the original story, the female lead dies before turning 10, burying the truth forever in mystery. She is a terminally ill character who dies early on, and the male lead is just an insignificant childhood friend. Before changing fate, starting a business, or growing stronger, she needs to get healthy first. After finally remembering her past life, she has zero motivation to do anything with such a trash body. Suddenly, she remembers that this is the time for him to show up, her only guardian. Outside her room, her guardian knocks, asking permission to enter. One maid becomes mesmerized by his beauty, while another tries to stop her. After a moment, he gets permission and opens the door. An elegant, long-haired man with striking green eyes enters, Mehen Lebergen. He is the steward of the Halburn ducal family. He greets her, saying that it has been a while since he last saw her, and that he heard she had been staying in her room and not going outside, so he decided to stop by. After listening to him, she feels very bad for her guardian, who has been checking on her condition day by day. Mehen opened a file and started taking notes, asking her if anything was troubling her. She wondered why he was questioning her like a government clerk. Mehen was the predator of the Halburn estate, a commoner by birth now known as a genius. He served as the Duke of Halburn's steward, chief aide, and the manager of the capital mansion. Back when she didn't have memories of her past life, she used to be afraid of Mehen because of his stern demeanor. But now, she saw him as an overworked corporate employee. "Oh, my poor guardian." Mehen asked her if there was anything she wished for, and she thought about it. With a smile, she greeted Mehen, saying it had been a while since she had seen him. Mehen was shocked by her sudden charm and took a moment to process it. Panicking, she quickly clarified that she didn't want anything and told him not to worry about her. Mehen said he had learned from the childcare group that she hadn't been going out lately. She reminded Mehen that he used to hate it when she went outside because any kind of activity put too much strain on her heart. She told him not to worry and promised she would behave and stay quiet. An awkward silence surrounded the room. All he could say was that he understood before leaving the room. In Mehen's office, he had a bad feeling something felt off. It had been 3 months since he last saw Lady Arlen properly. He called his butler, Dylan, and told him to gather the childcare group. Standing up with a serious expression, he ordered his butler to assemble them at once. Even the highly capable steward of the Halburn estate felt helpless when faced with the completely unfamiliar field of childcare. Reaching a final conclusion, he decided to leave it to the experts. Using the Lord's funds, he mobilized them and hired top talents from among the graduates of the Ernst International Butler and Maid Academy. The Arlen Care Unit was composed of theoretically perfect talents, each an expert in their own field, whether cooking, childcare, or service. They were commonly known as the childcare group. After some time, everyone gathered. Looking at their expressions, Mehen understood that they had sensed something was wrong as well. He asked them to speak one by one. Head maid Rena said that Lady Arlen seemed strangely lifeless and that she stayed in her room without coming out. Head butler Ern said that Lady Arlen used to smile a lot. But now, no matter how hard they tried to make her laugh, she wouldn't even chuckle. Mehen asked head maid Rena about her health. She replied that according to the court physicians, there was nothing unusual. One of them said it was the first time Lady Arlen had shut herself in like this. Another said it made them nervous because she had been the complete opposite before. She used to go outside often. Mehen thought that if he wanted to see her face now, she would have to come out of her room. Could something serious have happened? Head maid Rena suddenly stood up with excitement and said, "Tomorrow is that day, the day Lady Arlen will visit the Imperial Palace." The day finally came. Head butler Ern and Arlen arrived at the Imperial Palace, and Lady Arlen was mesmerized by its beauty. It was the day she would meet the male leads. The butler happily said goodbye to her, and she waved back. It was an official social gathering meant to foster ties between the crown prince, noble heirs, and other imperial elites. Perhaps because this world ran on highly advanced magical engineering, there was so much to see. The Imperial Palace, where wealth and technology gathered, was far more extravagant than anywhere else. After walking a little, her body began to protest. She already felt like she was dying. Finally, she reached the hall, still managing her condition. Maids and butlers opened the doors for her, revealing many noble heirs and children of imperial families gathered inside. They were the future of Albrecht. Felt like she was looking at celebrities. A pair of identical twins, a child with black hair and blue eyes, and many others stood out. She knew their futures. One would become an infamous womanizer, another a mad swordmaster. Not to mention the scandalous love triangle they would create, one that would shake the entire empire. She sat down on a chair to rest her body. A strange sadness filled her as she thought about their futures in which she would not take part. While she was lost in thought, some children suddenly started shouting, "Pigeon!" The crown prince had finally arrived. Everyone began running toward him. He was one of the male leads of this novel. A silver-haired prince wearing a heavy crimson mantle trailing behind him made his entrance. Even Lady Arlen was mesmerized by the crown prince's beauty. Is this really the face of a 7-year-old crown prince? The silver-haired heir stood bathed in golden light, his ruby eyes shimmering. With a cheerful smile, he greeted everyone. The crown prince, Pigeon, asked everyone, "What should we play today? Does anyone have a good idea?" The twin brothers smiled and replied that they had no ideas. Prince Pigeon then suggested, "Let's go outside and play find the ball again." And everyone agreed. As they all began heading outside, Arlen, who was sitting on the other side, heard everything. Her heart sank. She also wanted to join them and play together, but with her weak body, she simply couldn't. While everyone left, Arlen remained seated alone at the table. To her, this wasn't surprising. No one ever really cared. Even though she was present, nobody asked her to join them. That realization broke her heart. She was supposed to be the one and only precious daughter of House Halburn. Praised as a gem among jewels, born of nobility, believed to live a healthy and beautiful life. But the reality was far more pathetic. Even within the Halburn estate, Arlen was treated like a mere extra. Her status didn't matter. Everyone treated her with the same cold indifference. After realizing she had reincarnated into this world, there was only one thing she desperately hoped for: a warm, loving family that cherished her more than anything. Sadly, even in this life, she didn't receive that. With sadness in her eyes, she decided to head outside anyway. As she stood up, a maid approached and tried to escort her, but Arlen politely refused, saying she was fine and could walk on her own. Before the maid could respond, Arlen began walking away, leaving the maid stunned. As she walked, she thought about the novel. Arlen had always been frail and probably couldn't play with the other children either. She guessed that the previous owner of this body must have tried her hardest not to be left out. But why should she do the same? She didn't want to push her body like that. Instead, she decided to kill some time and then head back home. It was a beautiful sunny day, with a cool breeze in the air. Arlen sat under a tree, relaxing, choosing not to join the others and exhaust herself just to impress anyone. The gentle breeze calmed her mind, and she planned to spend her time peacefully. But fate had other plans. Suddenly, the bushes nearby began to shake. Looking closely, she saw a white tail flicking back and forth. Thinking it might be a kitten, she focused her gaze, and soon saw a beautiful white cat with sky-blue eyes. She had never seen this cat before. Perhaps it belonged to the emperor or empress. Smiling, Arlen softly called the cat, slowly moving closer. Just as she was about to reach out, something startled the cat, and it ran away. Not wanting to lose sight of it, Arlen followed the cat into the bushes. By accident, she collided with Crown Prince Pigeon. She accidentally grabbed his hand, and both of them froze in shock. Startled, Pigeon pulled his hand back and demanded, "Who are you?" Nervously, Arlen explained that she was from House Halburn. The prince asked why she was alone and why she wasn't playing with the others. She replied that she wasn't feeling well, which was why she hadn't joined them. "Are you sick?" the prince asked. She nodded and said that even running a little would make her collapse. She hoped the prince would understand her situation and leave her alone. Instead, to her surprise, he looked even more confused and said that collapsing from a little running sounded unbelievable. He thought she was lying. Arlen insisted that she was telling the truth and asked him to leave. To prove his doubt, the prince told her to run. She was shocked. "If you're telling the truth, then run," he said. Arlen didn't want to, but with no other option left, she agreed to prove herself. The prince's eyes sparkled like jewels, while Arlen's mood dropped even further. She thought bitterly that she would remember the psychopathic crown prince forever. Taking a deep breath, she began to run, thinking that this weather was perfect for passing out. After only a short distance, her breathing became heavy, and she felt herself about to collapse at any moment. The prince ran beside her. Suddenly, Arlen stumbled, and the prince caught her just in time. She didn't know what he would do next. At that moment, a maid noticed Arlen collapsing and shouted for help, calling for a doctor. Sometime later, at the Halburn estate, Mehen was furious as he rushed toward Arlen's room to check her condition. He couldn't understand how a gathering that was supposed to be a friendly playdate for the crown prince and the empire's elite heirs, meant to be the safest place, ended with Arlen being carried back unconscious, without even a proper explanation from the royal court. If even House Halburn was reacting this strongly, then the royal family was clearly involved. To Mehen, this was nothing less than a declaration of war against House Halburn. He demanded answers from the palace, but first, Lady Arlen's condition came before anything else. Mehen asked the childcare staff about her state. One of them replied that she had woken up and that her condition had stabilized. However, Lady Arlen had ordered isolation and didn't wish to see anyone at the moment. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, Prince Pigeon sat in a room with his mother. She told him she had heard he had been extremely rude to a girl from House Halburn. She asked him what she had always taught him. "To be kind to everyone," Pigeon replied. His mother immediately ordered him to go to House Halburn and apologize to Lady Arlen. Until he was forgiven, his tea desserts and even a single piece of chocolate were completely banned. Pigeon was horrified. He pleaded desperately, begging his mother not to ban his snacks. After that incident, Arlen sat on the balcony, enjoying tea and dessert. Still, she couldn't believe how fragile her body was. Fragile like a sunfish. She knew she was weak, but after what happened, she couldn't comprehend just how weak she truly was. How could I collapse from just a little running? She wondered. Suddenly, Arlen heard two maids talking nearby about the incident. One of them said, "What if Lord Mehen actually issues an expulsion order?" The other maid scoffed and replied, "Lady Arlen is just doing this for attention." She mocked Mehen, saying how ridiculous it was that a young man in his prime was stuck with childcare duties. All thanks to the dumb girl, Arlen. Hearing all this wasn't new to Arlen. In her past life, her classmates had mocked her behind her back as well. They pretended to admire her, calling her a genius who acted high and mighty, but deep inside, they were nothing but rivals. They even secretly wished for her to get hurt, hoping one of her hands would break or that something terrible would happen to her. In front of her, they acted like friends, but inside, they despised her. Even in this life, all she truly wanted was to be loved by her mother, a love she genuinely deserved. Inside his office, Mehen couldn't understand why raising a child felt so difficult. He remembered Arlen's cold words and felt the urge to be more attentive toward her. Lady Arlen Sigria Halburn, the daughter of his lord. He had raised her since she was little, and because of that, he could never fully leave her in the hands of the nannies. He remembered how cheerful, joyful, and full of energy she had once been. As her guardian, he had wanted to stay by her side for a little while longer. Yet Mehen also tried to maintain distance, afraid of getting too close to her. In the end, all she needed was family, love and warmth. And yet, her useless master hadn't even responded to her needs. Mehen's butler tried to speak up, calling his attention. Mehen asked him whether he was overthinking the situation. The butler replied, "Lady Arlen has never even met the Grand Duke. To her, you probably feel more like family. Children at that age don't want jewels or crowns. All they want is the warmth of a caring guardian." Just then, a maid entered the office and announced that the Crown Prince had arrived at the mansion. Mehen was shocked by the Crown Prince's sudden arrival. After speaking with him, Mehen finally understood the reason behind Lady Arlen's collapse. The Crown Prince had come to check on her condition. Mehen told him firmly that he would not be allowed to meet Lady Arlen. The physician had strictly ordered complete rest for her and instructed the Crown Prince to leave immediately. However, the Crown Prince presented a box of jewelry and said, "Please allow me to at least give this to Lady Arlen. After that, I will leave." Mehen accepted the gift and thanked the Crown Prince. However, in a cold demeanor, he demanded that the imperial family provide House Halburn with a proper explanation for the incident. Even the imperial attendants broke into a sweat under Mehen's terrifying gaze. For now, Mehen suggested they return. As they were leaving, the Crown Prince asked Graham, "Did I do something wrong?" Graham replied that it would be best to leave immediately, perhaps because he was afraid of Mehen. Outside the office, the Crown Prince seemed deep in thought. Graham noticed this and sensed that something bad was about to happen. Suddenly, the Crown Prince ran off, telling Graham that he was going to see Lady Arlen himself and ordering him to stall for time. Just as Graham tried to stop him, he heard a cold voice behind him. "What is the matter?" Mehen asked icily. "I already told you to leave." Terrified by his expression, Graham froze, wondering what he should do. Left alone with the mad dog of House Halburn, he nearly burst into tears. Meanwhile, the Crown Prince searched for Lady Arlen's room. As he walked through the mansion, something felt off. The palace was unusually quiet, vast, empty, and cold. In the imperial palace, he had always felt warmth and gentleness in the air. But here, there was no warmth at all. Only chilling cold and lingering darkness. He just hoped to find Lady Arlen before he was caught. He hadn't known she was so ill. If he had, he would never have told her to run, and she wouldn't have collapsed. He had only come here to apologize, and maybe to get his desserts, chocolate, and tea back. Suddenly, he noticed a light coming from a room. He wondered why the door was open and what was inside. Slowly, he pushed it open. The moment he looked inside, he was completely stunned. A girl stood by the window. Her hair looked like sunlight melted into platinum. Her eyes were the color of rose quartz, and her pale, porcelain face was delicate and small. It was Lady Arlene, shining like an angel, her beauty mesmerizing beyond words. She turned and asked, "What are you doing here?" As the crown prince tried to speak, his cheeks flushed red and his heart began to race. It felt as if the crown prince had fallen in love with Lady Arlene at that very moment. And here the video ends. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.